God of War Ragnarok is a frankly underrated game made by the small indie development team known as Sony Santa Monica. In it, you assume the role of John Mad Guy, the god of hands, accompanied by your son Atreus Kratos' son, the god of Riz, as well as your pet head Mimir, the smartest 1/5 of a man alive. And you know, some would say I'm a longtime fan of the God of War series. Some would say that it's one of my favorite game series of all time. Some would say that my sexual awakening was during the Aphrodite boss battle in God of War 3. Am I right, fellow gamers? I was like 10, I should not have been playing this game. But this isn't God of War 1, God of War 2, God of War 3, God of War Ascension, God of War Chains of Olympus. No, this is God of War 2. Part of the new and improved Kratos, a much more mature and ironically kid-friendly game. But old habits die hard, it seems, because in this game, Kratos jaunts his way through the 9 Norse realms, killing every sentient creature that might even pose a small threat to him. Because you know this game ain't called God of being a pussy. It's called God of War. Ragnarok. There will be spoilers in this video. This game continues from where we left off in the original God of War. Not that one, we literally just did this joke. For those who don't remember what happened, here's a quick recap to get you up to speed. Conor McGregor? Eat these fucking hands, you piece of shit! That's what happens. Yeah, this probably won't have any future repercussions. Damn. This shit is beautiful. What the hell happened? This game starts in the midst of Fimbulwinter, which is like the warning fart before you shit your pants. I'm talking about Ragnarok here. Essentially, it's really cold and the world's about to fucking explode. No, it's actually not going to explode, but it is ending. And look, even the birds want to kill you. Oh no, actually, that's just Freya, the god of love, fertility, and death. You kind of killed her son, and she's kind of still mad about it. But I mean, come on, lady, that happened like a whole game ago. Get over it. Anyways, she can't actually touch you in your house, because nobody can touch you in your house. You put a barrier up, remember?
Who's that? Your ball.
Is that Peter Griffin? Hold on a second here. Because actually, that is Thor, the god of alcoholic depression and poor parenting. And his father, Larry David. I mean his father, Odin, the god of optometry or something. I don't know, I was always better at Greek mythology anyways. See, these two came to make a peace treaty with Kratos. But much like the Treaty of Versailles, this can only end one way. So of course, Kratos says...
No.
Now pause right there. See, in God of War 1, the second, there was this cool-ass boss fight at the beginning of the game in which a certain god decides to visit your house and get his ass kicked. Seemingly the developers thought, yeah, you know, this fight's actually pretty sick, but you know, what'd be even sicker is if we did it again. And so they did it again.
I've been waiting for this.
You seem like a calm and reasonable person, are you? A calm and reasonable person.
I want the freedom of a call and infinite storm of nothingness. The sky above the clouds and rainbows now 3,000 deeper word. I gave up hope, but I'm not going to be lost to my manifested hell. I'm gonna
And honestly, I thought this one was cooler than the first game's version. But while some things remain the same, some things must also change. See, Kratos is an old man and just wants to live a quiet, peaceful, and safe life with his son Atreus. And Atreus is a bear now. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Anyways, between here and here, Atreus has been sneaking behind Kratos' back to learn more about the ancient prophecies that supposedly spoil the entire story of the game. Now, fate is an important concept in this game. Don't worry about committing that to memory though, because the game is not gonna let you forget it. Anyways, Atreus is all like, "Father, we have to stop Ragnarok." And Kratos is like,
No.
but then Atreus is like, "But the prophecies written by the giants tell us how we can stop it." And Kratos is like,
No.
and then Atreus is finally like, "If we stop it, those guys will be dead." And Kratos is like, "Yeah, no, that's a pretty good idea, actually." Now, everything I just talked about was an abbreviated version of the first 1.5 hours of the game. That was just the setup, and I feel like I watched a blockbuster movie. And there is around 40 more hours of game here. Playing the first part of this game, I was immediately reminded of how good games can actually be. I had been so used to big budget games being trash on release, uninspired disasters, or for lack of a better word, painfully mid. But it seems when you take a game, shove a shit ton of money into it, give it a good story, solid gameplay mechanics, polish it up a bit so there are minimal technical problems, and most importantly, actually care about making a good game, then you might make a good game. But 1.5 hours of a 40-hour game is only a percentage that I don't want to calculate. So now's the part where we have to start asking questions. For example, was the story actually good?
And the Game Award for Best Narrative goes to God of War Ragnarok.
There's a time in my life I would have agreed with this. I was a younger man, a man who had not yet beaten the game, but like a tornado in an Oklahoma storm, the credits tumbled into my life. And like raindrops on an autumn eve, tears trickled down my face. I had thought maybe they'd put it in the post-game. But the games industry is a cruel mistress, and to a dame like her, I'm just an ant on the sidewalk.
Is as valuable as a summer ant.
No man should suffer this fate. No man. What have I done in the past life to deserve this? It's been 2 games in a row and Kratos hasn't gotten laid once. Are we even playing the same God of War here? Narrative of the year, my ass. How am I supposed to get off to this? The story is good, but good is not great, and I'm not a 1920s hard-boiled detective. Now, just to get this out of the way, the world building is amazing. I mean, when you already have around 300 years of already established mythos to work from, it's kind of hard to mess it up. But, you know, God of War games typically have a story that goes like this. It's a straight line, it's tight, not a lot of horsing around, you know where you're gonna end up and you never lose sight of that. In comparison, God of War Ragnarok's story looks like this. It's messy. And not in the endearing Kingdom Hearts or Metal Gear dumb convoluted type of way. I mean, there's nothing to be confused about here. It's more like you're bouncing around from location to location, plotline to plotline, like the game is running out of time to show you everything it has to offer. And this makes a lot of the things it does show you feel just a little bit shallow. Like for example, every part with this guy in it. In the words of Kratos, "You've lost focus." And that focus is what made God of War 2018 so good. And I've already explained the setup of God of War Ragnarok, but to go into a little bit more detail, essentially this game centers around this prophecy written by the giants, which says, Tyr, the Norse god of war, will lead an army to defeat Odin during Ragnarok. However, at the same time, there is another prophecy saying that Kratos will also end up dying, and Atreus will work for Odin. But now here's the kicker, because Atreus knows that Kratos is going to die, but he doesn't think that Kratos knows that Kratos is going to die. But Kratos does know that Kratos is going to die, but he doesn't think that Atreus knows that Kratos is going to die. So the entire time, they're both trying to avoid Kratos dying in their own way, without letting the other person know that they know that Kratos is going to die. And the whole story feels like a will they, won't they. The game is trying to head fake you the whole time. Will Kratos die? Will we go to war? Will Ragnarok actually happen? Oh, there are so many possibilities. This game is called God of War Ragnarok, and this is the main guy. What are we doing here? Also, Atreus is a goddamn idiot. I mean, when I was 14, I was no Einstein, but half of the shit that goes wrong in this game is this kid's fault. If he had thought things through for even a second, this game would have been 15 hours, and the last 5 of that would have been Kratos sipping pina coladas in Svartalheim. Like, he sees a prophecy that says his dad is gonna die and he's gonna work for Odin. Now, obviously, he doesn't want that to happen. He wants to try to change fate. So what does he do? He says, I'm gonna stop this prophecy from happening. And do you know how I'm gonna do that? I'm gonna go work for Odin. What? But despite the overall plot looking like a Trackmania racetrack, the characters in this game are all pretty great. At least the ones that matter. Kratos is a PTSD-ridden man atoning for the sins of his past, actively trying to overcome his nature and be a better father and a better person. And in this game, he'll finally come face to face with his toughest battle, a sin that has plagued him for the past 7 games. He's bald. Despite that though, Kratos is one of the biggest chads in gaming, and the amount of growth he has done as a character is astounding. This is the same man that cut this guy's legs off just to steal his J's, and then beat his own father to death so badly that the game switched perspectives. And now we're seeing him to struggle to fix himself. He's doing things that even people on the internet can't do, like apologize for being wrong. And his character arc comes together so beautifully in the end that it almost makes me want to be a better person. I mean, I'm not gonna do that, but you know what, almost is like. Then there's Atreus, and he may be stupid, but you can't count him out, because he's also dumb. Although, when I was his age, my biggest concern was that I didn't have diamond camos on my sniper rifles yet. And this guy's trying to stop the world from ending, so I guess I'll cut him some slack. He's alright. Mimir is the severed head that Kratos carries around with him on his tool belt, a bit that was actually ripped directly from Lollipop Chainsaw. He's the comedic relief in this game, and it's only fitting that Kratos' best and only friend is a literal severed head that tells jokes. Though there is a surprising amount of depth to his character, and you can always count on him to provide insightful commentary during your journey.
Big footprint.
And these are the main 3 characters, but let me quickly run you through some of the other ones. Brock is short, Sindri runs like a girl, Thor has daddy issues, Sif. Man, what can I say about Sif? Let me just put it like this. If you put me in this game, it'd be called God of War Ragnarok. Thor, move over. Heimdall's a dickhead, Ratatoskr's a giant rat, Thrud actively listens to My Chemical Romance, and Graboda's upset that she isn't a bigger part of the story, and then she proceeds to not really be a bigger part of the story. Freyr is a side character that somehow hot-guyed himself into becoming a main character. Freya is mad that you killed her son for like 5 in-game hours, because blood may be thicker than water, but hatred for your ex-husband seems to have the highest viscosity here. Odin feels like he should be at the head of a Fortune 500 company rather than leading this pantheon. His goal throughout the game is to become the Mask, which will allow him to figure out the secrets of the universe. Or something, I don't know. His goal should have been to fix his LeBron James ass hairline. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. Somebody get the god of hair follicles in here. And finally, there's Tyr. We fish him out of the gulag hoping that he'll be the key to stopping Odin and saving the world from Ragnarok. He isn't. He sort of carries around the air of a recently divorced man. But he is good at cooking, so you know, he can't be that bad, right? And it is the interactions between these characters that I believe truly makes this story worthwhile. The characters all feel so unique, and they each have their own problems and worries that I actually kinda care about. And I say kinda because these characters also contribute to one of the biggest problems it felt like this game had. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, a lack of focus. The game is spreading itself too thin, trying to tie in all of these character arcs from all of these different characters into one gigantic, for lack of a better word, Marvel-sized story. Whereas in, say, God of War 2018, you are dialed in on these two for the entire game and better off for it. And again, despite the negatives here, I do like the characters and their interactions are entertaining. The dialogue is written good. Yeah, it's good. For the most part, it's good, and just them talking to each other was enough for me to put down the controller and just listen to what they had to say. And the developers realized this. They realized this almost to the point where it gets in the way of the... Oh hey, look, it's the fun stuff. But let's get serious for a second. It's called a games industry for a reason. PlayStation is a business, and businesses will do what makes money, even if it's the same thing that's been done 20 times in a row. Are a lot of these recent big budget Sony games just a tad bit formulaic? Yeah, and the formula works every single time. Change is an overrated concept to begin with. In this game, there are 4 methods of murder. The Leviathan Axe, employing the power of frost and the latest in Australian boomerang technology. You could kill from up close or throw it across the arena like you're trying to get a clip for your Black Ops 2 montage. The Blades of Chaos, Kratos' signature weapon. 2 2 knives on the end of a big chain, imbued with the power of fire from the pits of Hades, strong enough to kill gods, and if you're wondering, also strong enough to kill Kratos' wife and child. The Draupnir Spear, the newest weapon in Kratos' arsenal. Don't you hate it when you throw your spear, and now you got no spear? Well, now you can have 2 spear, or 3 spear, or 4 spear, or 5 spear, and that's the highest I can count because my brain is only spear facts now. But if weapons are not to your liking, you can use Hercules and his lesser-known brother, Iphicles. Nothing beats the feeling of directly applying 260 pounds of raw Greek muscle to the jaw of whatever unsuspecting enemy happens to be in your way. But then there's also Kratos' secret weapon, pure irritation channeled into violence. It sort of hits home with me. You have a big mad meter that charges up as Kratos gets more and more angry, which when full you can act out how every dude thinks they'll be when they get into a fight. Now Gandhi once said, "Defense is for stupid idiots." He probably said that, I don't know, it's all spear facts up here, remember? But if you ever decide to take your finger off the R1 button, you can shield, parry, or dodge. That's it. What are weapons though if you don't have proper enemies to kill? And luckily, this game seems to have diversified its enemy variety from the last game. From zombies to racist weeaboo elves, furries, Discord mods, enough dragons to burn down all of Skyrim and many, many more. This game even goes so far as to bring back human enemies, which were pretty much absent from the last game. Something about trivializing death and lore implications. Well, in this game, you can imply your axe into the back of somebody's head. And you might not have noticed this, but the game is sort of violent. Yet not as violent as it used to be, and not as epic as it used to be. So Kratos is not the angry man he once was. He's trying to be better, and this is where I think the narrative is actively fighting against what would make the game the most fun. The story wants Kratos to redeem himself, but all I want from the gameplay is the exact opposite of that. The God of War series to me has always excelled in 2 facets, doing epic shit and primal release. Epic shit is self-explanatory, but what is primal release? You encounter an enemy, this insurmountable force of nature that you know you're gonna have to dead. The game builds your attention, you're focused, stabbing and slashing till that boss's health bar resembles the wallet of a gacha gamer. And finally, you hit that climax, that primal release, all of the tension is let go in a burst of glory, you overcome the odds and get a taste of that sweet victory. And this is where a game like God of War 3 excels. The entire game is just the coolest shit that you can think of happening back to back. This game is the male fantasy, and when you kill somebody like Poseidon, you don't just kill Poseidon, you eviscerate Poseidon. There's almost a feeling of catharsis as you beat him senseless. It just makes me want to... In this game, the feeling is lacking. The savagery is lacking. The grandiosity is lacking. I didn't waste my time editing this shit at the beginning of the video just for there to be cooler shit that happens later. I did it because it was the best fight in the game and it happened 1 hour in. And it's not to say that there weren't any other moments that made your balls tingle a little bit, you know, give you those butterflies in your stomach, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a bit disappointed with the fights in this game. And the best example of this is the Heimdall fight. I mean, the second you saw this man's face, there wasn't a doubt in your mind that you were killing this guy. In fact, the whole middle portion of this game is pretty much a build-up for this fight. But when you actually fight him...
Man, this fight is lame as hell! Oh my god!
And when I killed him, I didn't get that catharsis. It felt terrible. It felt like a sad nut. But it's understandable. That is the point of the fight, I guess. Kratos isn't the same mass murderer he once was, and thematically it makes sense. Fanatically, I want to rip a dude's head off and use it as a bedside lamp, but you know that would go against the themes of the story. The woke liberal agenda doesn't want you to rip somebody apart limb by limb. No, you can't come back into the store, sir. You just ate that old lady alive. Society is going downhill, people. Now, this game does a first for the series, though. Adds a little bit of spice by giving us a new playable character. It's Atreus. Is Atreus as strong as Kratos? No. But is he as fun to play as Kratos? No. But do his sections help break up the gameplay and keep things feeling fresh? Yeah. Except for this part. For some reason, the game decided to take a break from the fun and make me pick berries with Angrboda for what felt like an eternity, all while listening to Atreus spit the weakest game known to man. What sort of sick, twisted game are you playing here, Sony? Making me... And on a technical level, the combat isn't anything to write home about. I mean, some might even call it boring. but I just call it simple. It does its job and it does it well enough for me to never actually get bored. And that can be attributed to the fact that it is visually appealing. The animations are all top tier, the sound design is masterful and makes all your hits feel like they have a nice impact to them, and sure, you could get through the game just spamming R1 and dodging at the right time, but it's much more fun to switch your weapons mid-fight and utilize all the tools you have at your disposal. And you have a lot of them. See, this game has a bunch of RPG mechanics thrown into it. For some reason. Heaven forbid we have a game released in 2022 that doesn't tap into your monkey brain desire to want some sort of numeric progression system. Outside of combat though, you will either be walking, talking, or doing a puzzle. Probably the first two. This is what I was hinting at earlier. See, the traversal in this game is boring as shit, and there are these long stretches of space where you do absolutely nothing. So they have all of these conversations in place to make it so that you don't want to blow your brains out every time you're trying to go somewhere new. And sure, when they are talking, it's cool, their conversations are interesting and I don't care. I can listen to these three talk about Norse cock and ball torture methods for 40 hours straight and I would be interested. But when they aren't talking, it's painfully obvious, and Lord forbid you ever decide to backtrack through one of these levels. Let's just say I would rather experience Norse cock and ball torture. Also, why does this game treat me like I am 4 years old? Follow these 1 million arrows that tell you where to go in case you get lost in this linear ass hallway of a level. It's not like we already have a billion walls and squeeze through sections to gate you into where you need to go. Are you having too much trouble with the puzzles? Well, how about we tell you the answer before you even get a chance to look at it. The puzzles are already simple and repetitive. The least you can let me do is put my 4th grade thinking skills to use. And I get that you need to cater to the lowest common denominator, but please game devs, I'm only half as stupid as you think I am. But twice as good looking. All of this is ironic too, because the game can be very... I played the last game on the hardest difficulty on my first playthrough. Start to finish, give me God of War. Should have been called, give me a fucking break, this difficulty sucks dick. At least on your first playthrough. It wasn't even the fact that I died so much I wanted to commit God of War 1 meme. It was the fact that it gated me into having to play a certain way. Some moves became practically unusable unless I felt like I was having too much fun being alive. It seems that this game is more forgiving than the last game. A marginal forgiveness, but either way I decided to go with the second highest difficulty. Kind of felt like the sweet spot here. Still, some of these bosses felt a teensy-weensy little bit stupid, and I get it. When you have 5 difficulty modes, it might be a little tough to balance them. All of this to say, to the man who designed Sviptgar the Cold, you better count your fucking days, buddy. Before I finish this video, I need to talk about the ending segment of this game. There will be some devastating spoilers here, so if you care about not having the ending spoiled, go ahead and skip to the final thoughts portion of the video, timestamps in the description. So this segment was kicked off by the big plot twist in the game. Tyr is fucking Odin. Let me rephrase that. Odin was inside Tyr the whole time. Tyr is Odin. I mean, Odin is Tyr. Odin disguised himself as Tyr. And he ends up killing Brock. This portion signifies the end of the game, the main part. This is the section where the Battle of Ragnarok happens. For reference, you can get from here to the end credits in about 2.5 hours. The Ironwood section was 3. Anyways, from here, we create Ragnarok, blow the horn to signal the final battle, and boom, we are finally at war. Explosions everywhere, people dying, cool shit happening. This is the climax. Too bad this game has erectile dysfunction. For as cool as everything was, it kind of felt like there was always something just a bit cooler happening in the distance, just out of our reach. And this is the part where Kratos finally comes around. For the past 2 games, he's been telling Atreus to close his heart to suffering. Do not allow yourself to feel for them because they will not feel for you. But now, influenced by Atreus, he admits to his folly and tells him to open his heart. You know, little 180 action, if you would. And it kinda felt a little shonen anime to me, just a little bit corny. I don't know though, it's like maybe I'm just a jaded piece of shit and my body's immediate reaction to emotional intimacy is to cringe, you know, since I'm such a manly man. But hey look, in my defense we go on to be even more shonen anime because we proceed to use the power of love and friendship to get past Thor and his family. And I like One Piece and Naruto as much as the next guy, but seeing this in a God of War game was like getting hit by a flashbang. Honestly, this ending segment didn't really do it for me. It wasn't egregious, but if I had to describe it in a word, it would be whelming. From the whelming final level to the whelming final boss. And if you're asking about my expectations, yeah, it's kinda hard not to have any when, again, this is final. This is the final part of the final game in the God of War Norse saga. And don't get me wrong, I do like the journey that Kratos and Atreus went on these past 2 games, and I appreciate the outcome of their stories. I just feel like this landing was a bit biffed. Although I'd be lying if I said this part at the end where Kratos sees that he is now a god that people will revere didn't hit me in some sort of way. In fact, Kratos' entire story hit me in some sort of way. A way that one might even venture to say is profound. As somebody in early adulthood, seeing Kratos struggle to be a good father not only had me question the type of father that I would want to be, but also question my own masculinity and how I want the world to perceive me. This game is good, but it is also flawed and disappointing, and I wish you were never born in the... Hold on a second, sorry. Speaking of fathers, this is actually a text message from my dad. Yeah, I don't know how this got in the script. God of War Ragnarok is a game about fighting. The narrative is fighting with the gameplay, the characters are fighting with the plot. I'm about to be fighting with the comment section because I said anything remotely negative about this game. At the end of the day, no, this is not my favorite God of War game. It disappointed me in many aspects, and sure, you can say a lot of the criticism I gave it is because I subconsciously wanted another God of War 3 level game. But even looking past that, I can't in my right mind say that this game is free of flaw. Yet I still like it, and believe wholeheartedly that it is worth $70. Shit, I mean, if you compare this to a lot of other games coming out, this might as well be worth $170, but let me stop right there before I give Sony any funny ideas. This, in my opinion, is AAA gaming working at its highest caliber. Even though there are some things that could have been done better, this is what games should aim to be at the very least. A game with incredible polish, music, and I didn't even touch on the music, but by Odin's Raven, this shit is some heat. Cinematography, graphics, a game that seems like it was actually made by 400 people and not just 3 guys and a dyslexic lemur.